A new book goes behind the scenes of Instagram's creation and what happened after Facebook bought the picture-sharing platform. No Filter, the inside story of Instagram, tells the parts of the story that you haven't heard. The book is published by Simon & Schuster, which is a division of CBS's parent company, Viacom-CBS. Axios named No Filter its Business Book of the Year. And Sarah Fryer is the author of that book, and she is here with us now to talk about what she learned after taking a deep dive into the app's history. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You got some great access. I mean, even as you were writing some critical stuff in your role as a journalist, you were still getting people to talk to you who were willing to talk to you about sort of the origin story of Instagram for the book. How did you manage to get that access?
Well, I think it's all about establishing trust and trying to reassure people that you are just trying to get to the truth, right? And this app has become part of the infrastructure of our society. It is so important to understand its mechanics, what it has done to our culture, to our behavior, to our values, that understanding what happened behind the scenes, the decisions that got made, the people who won out, who lost out, who clashed, all of those things go towards understanding this crucial part of our internet history and reflects upon ourselves. So I think a lot of people understood that mission and wanted to make sure that whatever came forth and became the public record was factual and hopefully interesting.
One of the things that I found pretty interesting is the evolution or the journey of Kevin Systrom, right? He's not a coding nerd. He enjoys photography, and not just sort of even like lo-fi photography. He's certainly in the tech world and in the ecosystem, but he doesn't seem like some of these other founders. And I think that had a direct impact and influence on why it was Instagram that he started, why he started a platform that was based around pictures.
Absolutely. I mean, he was something of a Renaissance man. He loved learning about things like photographic development, and he loved learning how to DJ, how to make good cocktails, how to understand the stitching of Italian leather. He was a man of many interests, and he built this platform that is essentially our way to dive into whatever interests we have. And he also understood presentation and brand and culture, and he wanted to build a place where people could essentially turn their memories and their life moments into art, which is what we have with this product. And he didn't try to overcomplicate it. I mean, this guy was not a typical engineer that was trying to solve the hardest problem. He just wanted to make something really simple that people would like and use, which is why it caught on in the early days of mobile apps.
Okay, I want to get into what it was he was creating and whether it still is that. But there's this other element too. You talked about he understood branding, and what they were really able to do early on was reach out to certain celebrities to get them to sort of post pictures. But not just that, like they created the Instagram influencer in a very specific, strategic way. I don't know if they knew they were creating this whole other category of job. I mean, now you have little girls and little boys that want to be firefighters and, I don't know, ballerinas and astronauts, but also Instagram influencers on the side. Did they know what they were doing? And did they know they would eventually be building kind of like a whole other career path?
They didn't know that they would be building this commercial aspect, but once they figured it out, they realized that they could actually shape our culture and teach us what to do on Instagram through the example of others. For them, it was all about creating the best content on Instagram, and that meant elevating the voices that they thought were doing a good job, which turned those people into early celebrities. Once people had audiences on Instagram, oh, you're showing the Instagram account. That account is so influential. It has more followers than any Kardashian. And whenever Instagram posts something on there, it's displaying what it wants people to emulate with their own behavior. So they have become trendsetters. They have decided what will happen in our culture, what will get viewed and become popular, and done it in this very content-based way, and really allowed people to turn into celebrities to make Instagram their career, while simultaneously training our traditional celebrities to use Instagram and take charge over their own images without having to rely on the paparazzi or the media or whatever filtered mode they had in the past.
You talk about how Instagram didn't make any money for a long time, story of a lot of these tech platforms, and how Instagram's co-founder, Kevin Systrom, was adamant that he didn't want Instagram to be a place where people sold things. Why and how did people start advertising on Instagram then?
Well, once people got audiences on Instagram, audiences of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, eventually millions of people, they were essentially creating their own media companies within Instagram that they realized that they could advertise against, that a brand would want a direct access to their audience, and not officially through Instagram, but through them. They could say, I'm wearing these Nike shoes, or I'm using this Samsung phone to take these pictures, and other people would say, oh, wow, well, I really trust you, so I'm going to go buy it. And what made it so powerful was that Instagram was almost like a friend giving you a recommendation, because you started to follow these people, these digital celebrities, and you understood so much about their lives. They were vulnerable. They were intimate on their Instagram profiles, and that built trust with them and made you want to do what they were doing in order to be like them. And it just became an incredibly powerful branding tool. And at first, Instagram thought that this was going to really destroy the kind of artistry and creativity and craft that goes into Instagram if it just became a mall. But you see Instagram today is leaning more into this, like leaning hard. They have Instagram Shop, Instagram Checkout. They want people to buy directly through Instagram. So you've really seen that evolution of a platform that was scared to let it become too commercial. And now Facebook owns Instagram and is hoping that that's their next big revenue stream after advertising.
So speaking of the evolution, and I want to, let people know that in the book you get sort of the whole journey, and the behind-the-scenes journey is really fascinating. A lot of the key individuals, obviously you've heard of Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey. They've known each other for a very long time. Zuckerberg tried to hire Systrom. That didn't work out, but look how things ended up, right? Twitter at one point wanted to buy Instagram as well. Other celebrities wanted to financially invest in Instagram early on. But when we talk about sort of the evolution, I remember when I kind of first really started going to Instagram more and more often, one of the reasons that I did it, and a lot of people have said the same thing to me, is because I wanted to escape from some of the toxicity that I was finding on other social media platforms. Twitter can be pretty rough. Facebook was getting sort of very political. And what was really nice about Instagram is that it was just pretty pictures. And that was it. And like you point out, it was simple. Now, since then, there have been, all sorts of different sort of Instagram people who have been pushing political points of view and stuff like that. But still, overall, it's really just pretty pictures. I want to ask you, what the founders wanted Instagram to be versus what it is right now. Is it still sort of true to its original focus? And I'm also thinking about the algorithms and way algorithms work. Here at CBSN, we've talked a lot about the Facebook algorithms and how they create an echo chamber, and sometimes you can't get out of this sort of negativity loop. That doesn't appear to be the case for Instagram.
Well, I would actually push back on that a bit, because Instagram has a lot of problems. They're just harder for us to see because Instagram doesn't have virality. And because the founders decided that they did not want resharing on Instagram, they didn't want anything on your profile to be anything that you hadn't created. That was something that made it a perfect personal branding tool, because everything you post is something that is your own. And it also made it harder to find the dark side of Instagram, because the conspiracy theories, the dark things that we see proliferate on Facebook and Twitter don't bubble to the top on Instagram the way they do elsewhere. But there are certainly communities operating in the way that Instagram operates, which is through influencers, through hashtags, that are spreading things that are illegal or unseemly or damaging to our society just as much. I mean, Russia, the Internet Research Agency, actually posted more on Instagram to try to manipulate the 2016 presidential election than they did on Facebook. Why don't we talk about it? Because we love Instagram, and we don't have the same feelings about Instagram, and just the way it makes us feel is good because of those pretty pictures, because of that escapism. And so I think that we just haven't been looking for the dark side because we don't want to find it. But to your point earlier about what has changed since the founders left and since they allowed Facebook to take more control over Instagram, listen, it's becoming a lot more complicated. If you sign up for Instagram today, it's not that simplicity we talked about. You have in the regular feed, but you also have stories, you have reels, you have Instagram checkout, you have IGTV, you have highlights, you have all of these things that, a new user would kind of think, where am I supposed to put my content? And that is definitely not what the founders intended. You also get a lot more Facebookization of the product, this recommendation algorithm that tells you, puts you into a personalization funnel. So if you follow this cake decorating person, you might want to follow these 7 other cake decorating people. And Instagram used to be a place where we would go find new interests, things that we didn't know that we were into. And now it's a place that's becoming a lot more like Facebook, a lot more pushing us in the direction that they realize already works.
Well, I guess it's that I'm looking at a lot of cake decorating, obviously. Clearly, what's on my feed. So listen, just looking at the news of the day, though, Facebook in particular facing a massive lawsuit from 48 attorneys general. And there is a threat that Facebook will be broken up. As we know now, Facebook owns Instagram. I'm wondering what you learned about Mark Zuckerberg's business practices, why it was important for Facebook to own Instagram.
It was simply a competitive threat to Facebook. Facebook saw Instagram really gaining traction on mobile phones. Facebook didn't have a good mobile app. They didn't know what they were going to do there, but they saw that Instagram had achieved what I talked about earlier, the network effect in this mobile photo sharing, that they were already the winner. And if Facebook wanted to really compete there, they needed Instagram to be part of their company. And we've seen this happen over and over again. This is what the FTC says has turned Facebook into an illegal monopoly because they want to crush competition, they want to copy competition, and they want to make it harder for anyone else to get to the level they are at. And Instagram was told when it joined Facebook that they would be able to remain independent, but certainly that has not happened over the course of a few years. The company has taken a lot more control over the Facebook Instagram relationship. It has become more a part of Facebook. And this power that Facebook has over our society, the power that Instagram built, is just growing ever larger.
Mm-hmm. Well, the book is No Filter, The Inside Story of Instagram. It's available now. It's also an audiobook. That's how I took it in. I listened. Sarah Frier, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.